Good afternoon, remarkable coders. I hope you can hear me very well. Thank you for joining us today. I am sorry, I'll be a bit, my tone will be a bit slow because of my colleague, but I hope you can hear me clearly, very clearly. Let me know if you can hear me very clearly. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl, for that. Thank you for the feedback. Let me raise, the speakers, so the speaker volume is very maximum. Thank you very much. Now, today we are going to continue with creating other new pages and resolving that error that we had. So if I may ask, who has joined here with a laptop so that they can share their screen? But if it is not possible, it is still okay. I can share from my end. So before we share, let me just share the notes a little bit and show you the tricks of how far you can or how much you can do. And yeah, and be able to just seek further guidance from the notes on how best you can seek further guidance from the notes. Great. So let me share my screen. Perfect. Now, these are the curriculum. This is the curriculum that we sent you. And in this curriculum, you can be able to see that, of course, we started with the introduction to programming, things to do with data types, decision making and loops and so on. And then Flutter development, we discussed this in the beginning, but there are multiple, expounded notes here. Like, do you remember, guys, when you were talking about single child widgets? Like there is a widget, like there are some widgets like container that only takes in one child, only one child. And then other than that, we have multi-child, let me call it children. What did we call here? Let me confirm. Just a second. So these are the widgets that only take one child. So whenever you want to, or whenever you're thinking about coding in Flutter and then put child, or a widget only takes what you call child, that means that that widget only can take one child, one child. Like, we have multiple child widgets, let me say, or the one that can take one child or more. So you can put one child in there or more children. Yeah, I know that sounds a bit complex. So let me know who is willing to share their screen as I am opening the what is it called? I am using Visual Studio Code. I have so many editors at the moment. So yeah, so let me know if anyone is willing to share their screen. But in the meantime, I just wanted to, okay, open recent file. Okay, just a second. This Zoom. Okay, just a second again. Let me close this. It's telling me that my audio quality is not very good. Let me close this. Okay, so we were doing some React here, that's why. Open recent. Yeah. So as I'm opening that, let me close the door so that you can be able to hear me very clearly. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, I hope now you can hear me very well. Let me check microphone. Yeah, Logitech. Perfect. Now, let me just say in a nutshell what we discussed, and I'm waiting to hear from you guys, anyone who's willing to share their screen, because the exercise that you're going today is actually going to be super easy, and you're going to take the easy task and code it up to let me say at 1:50 p.m. so that to give you a smooth transition to the other session, and then we can share with you the assignment. We can share with you the assignment as we go by. Now, let me just give you a nutshell of how far we have reached, so that you don't find it like, wow, we are adding knowledge, adding stuff, adding stuffing in stuff, and yet we have not understood or something like that. So this is what we started by with. We started with building, or we started with creating folders, and in these folders we started creating folders in the lib folder, because the lib folder is the one that carries our files that are going to be executed, or the files that are going to be run in the in our Flutter application. And then we created a new folder here called images, and put here our images. And if maybe you're interested to know where these images are coming from, we got the images from it's called something.io. I'll share with you the link. And so that if you're interested to put the same images in your app, these images are free to use, and you can even edit the images to suit your own color. Then we discussed about this folder. So you have the Android folder, of course. For those who are familiar a little bit with native code, you'll realize that this section is so familiar, and we discussed how we are going to use this folder, especially the Android manifest and also the build.gradle, when we are setting up Firebase. But you're not there yet. We are going to reach there. And there is one faster clicking way to install Firebase. Remember, in coding, abstraction, we are aiming at abstraction. We as developers, sometimes, yes, it's good to know everything, but it reaches a time that we care more about developing the solution more. So that's why kuna wanna abstract zaidi, like you make it abstract so that we can be able to just code without stress and understand other things later. Baadaye, yeah, we start and then understand as we go along. I don't know if that makes sense. So that is the Android folder. I can say the same with the iOS folder. With the iOS folder, we have, for those who know native iOS code, of which we'll make sure that we give you the basics of that. We have here, of course, runner, where, of course, the Flutter that is placed there. And then we have runner, Xcode, and so on. So here is where we are going to place our files. Now, in the lib folder, this one, remember, you're not, it's not a must that you structure the lib folders here. There are some utarusha tu hapo files. There are some of us, like when we began, we were super disorganized. Let me assure you. Yeah. So with that, it is advisable to organize yourself. Like we talked about creating custom widgets, and with custom widgets, they're like that text field. You create a text field, and then you call that text field, you put it there. You create a button, you call that button, you put it there. Okay, so those are the things that we also discussed. And then we discussed the main.dat, which is the entry point of the application. We deleted everything below it and changed this code to login, so that whenever we run the app, it leads us to the login screen. Okay, now we also created the login page, and in this login page, as you can see, we have imported these two widgets. We have imported these two widgets, and these two widgets are going to enable us. These two custom widgets are the ones that we created here. And let me just mention, don't take it as something complex. Let me give you a quick example. For example, let us take a look at these custom widgets in this way, okay? For example, we have a machine that can produce doors depending on the height of your house. Let's say the doors would be produced depending on the height. You know, people like I, and we have Aisha as well. We are very tall people. So, and then we have, for example, Madam Ruth, very short. Now, let's say depending on the height, we just tap our height in the machine and then it produces the door that we require, or the dress height. Let me use an example, the dress height, depending on the height, okay? So imagine you creating you create that dress already, and then you specify that the height should be custom. So if Ruth is calling that dress, okay, if Ruth wants to print that dress, she will put her custom height, and then that dress will take in that dimension and then print that dress depending on her height. When the tall baggers, we go and put our height in the dress. When we put the height, it now prints depending on the height that we have. So that is like a similar example of what we are doing in terms of creating this. Instead of every time when we come in our app and we have something similar, remember, when we abstract, like we have to always think, like when you're creating your app, you have to think of how your button shapes are going to look like, how your text boxes are going to look like, and even you're going to put what you call loaders, how your loader will look like. How is it going to look like? So you create this before you develop your application. So I'm hoping that with this week and next week, we'll be done with the mobile apps, or we'll be done with user interface, so that we create yours before we move to the back end. I hope that is okay. Now, this is what is happening here. You create the text field and exactly how it's going to look like in the entire application. But there are some figures in the text field that are a bit different. There are some figures, like for example, the hint text, okay? The controller, if it's an email field, it's just an email field, and it's different from a password field. So you specify these constants, or you specify these values here at the top. Now, after you specify these values, it means that the moment you call a text field, some values you want them to be a must to be there, like this one, the one that doesn't have question mark here. So it will be required for you to have them in your fields. But there are some that, yeah, if it is there, no problem. If it is not there, no problem as well. So we specify that by putting a question mark there. And then we just create the widgets the way we normally created the widgets, specify the styling. So every time we want to use this widget, we just call it. For example, in the login screen, as you can see, we just called that widget so that our code is a bit simpler, that txt field, and we only specified our input type, hint text, and obscure text. Now that is the beauty of using the text field. Fantastic. Maybe any question before we run this and update the issue? Any question or any errors that maybe you experienced? Create the screen. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Things are just happening in my microphone. I can see my default microphone is changed. Just a second. Okay. Yeah, I hope everything is okay. Let me see. Okay, Cheryl, you have an error in the login screen. Let me stop sharing. Are you in a position to share? Oh, Helen, you also have a question. Thank you for raising your hand. Yes, Cheryl. Cheryl, kindly go ahead and share your screen.
Okay.
I actually saw the error and was wondering how can I explain in the chat.
It's hard to explain.
Yes.
Minus. So the error is in line 12.
Yes. Now, in the onPressed function, kwa hiyo text button, okay? Kwanza hiyo text button haifai kukua hapo. Let me see. Hapo kuna widget build context. Alafu we have after build context, we are actually just returning scaffold directly. Let me just look into it a little. Hiyo code ya hapo juu after, see we have override, just a second. After your widget build context from line 10, yes, from line now 10 to 12, it's not supposed to be there.
From
line 10 to 12.
From here?
Yes, paka 12 yote. It's not supposed to be there because these widgets are supposed to be, acha niseme zinafaa kufungwa inside another widget. And we have, of course, the mother widgets that start like after your build context. Okay, let me just explain a little bit. The moment you see widget build, alafu build context, of course, there's some code that might come on top, especially wakati tunaenda kutengeneza our backend, okay? Now, after widget build context, the moment unaona to build widget build context, yani it is now building that screen. That is the entry point now of that screen. Now, we talked about what scaffold is. Scaffold, it is like a skeleton, ama foundation ya nyumba. And most of our widgets are going to start with scaffold. Now, you see a must, widgets zetu zianze na scaffold. Some widgets can start with, kuna one widget we call safe area, especially kuna wenye simu zenu huku juu, zimechongwa kweli kweli, ndio kamera itoshe. I don't know how venye zimechongwa. It affects the design of the application. Sasa ndio, sometimes you might see us not using scaffold, but we are using safe area. We wrap it in safe area. Haya, I can see you have another issue. Scroll chini so that you can have a look at it.
Hakuna error ingine.
Oh, kuna error nyingine iko sawa. Perfect.
Maybe I run.
Yes, you can kindly run. And then Helen, as she's running, maybe as you're running, Helen, maybe feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Okay, hello, John.
Hey, Helen, how are you?
I am good. So, I've been running my app, then all of a sudden it's not showing me the login text that I had written from the Chrome.
Okay.
So it only comes with the debug.
Okay, but okay, it's running, but it's not showing anything in the app.
Yeah, it's not showing anything.
Okay, so you're going to share your screen in a few moments. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Oh, so Cheryl, I'll be waiting for your feedback. Helen, kindly go ahead and share your screen. So let me know who else has an error. Okay, let me see my speakers as well.
John, can you see my screen?
Oh yes, I can. Sorry. Okay, so I know why it's not showing. There is that custom button. I'm sure it's saying that there is size issue, right? That's what you wanted to solve there. I actually was to send this as an assignment, but we were so occupied this week there was a team that was hosting their apps on Play Store. So it was hard for us to solve, to share the video. This is actually what you're going to look at. Yeah, don't worry. So it won't show anything. Like, as you can see, it's because we have the runtime error. When you look at your screen, let's now debug this. Let us learn how to debug this now. Expand a little bit on there in that section where it has written problems. So kuna hiyo line pale, problems, output, blah, blah, blah. There is a line that your line, yes, expand juu kidogo. Now click on output. Okay, I'm a debug console. Let me, as you're doing that, yes, there is that error. As you're doing that, I am transferring back to my workstation. I hope it does not disconnect. Sorry about this, actually. Sorry, but I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Perfect. Now, as you can see, this error is an error that you'll experience a lot, especially when you're building custom widgets and widgets that require you to, give me a minute, just 1 minute. Perfect, yeah. And widgets that require you to specify size. So the problem with this widget, what it's saying is it wants us to specify the size. It wants us to specify the width and the height of a particular widget. And it only happens when we add the button. You know, sometimes, hapo umekwambia the relevant error causing widget is container. Ukiklik kwa hiyo container, hebu click kwa hiyo container. Hapo wameandika line UI, lib UI login datio. Hapo, yes. You find that it's taking you to this container. This container has no problem. It is just okay kwa sababu the width and the height are just normal. We have specified the width and the height. So what we can do is you can scroll down to where the button is, and then we can specify the size. Now we can at least wrap it in a container, and in that container we can specify the height so that the widget is not throwing to us errors. Now here's the beauty of how you can wrap something with a widget in case you have not yet wrapped it with a widget. So click kwa hiyo BTN line 73, you'll see a bulb just on the BTN itself. Yes, in that bulb, click on it and then wrap with container. So as you can see, there's beauty in Flutter. Like, if I've forgotten a widget, you just click on that and wrap with container. Now in that container, after your opening bracket, click enter. This is one way of solving it. If it doesn't work, we'll look at another way.
After this one?
Yes, perfect. Press enter. Alafu press enter tena ukuje juu. We want to align. Yes. Now andika hapo height. Okay. As you're doing that, I'm fixing my height. Haya, andika let's say put 45 we see. Yes, like that. So save and try. We try again. So it's performing hot reload because you've only made a small change in the, oh, it's hot restarting.
Hot
Okay.
restart.
Oh, it's okay. Sometimes I don't know why, but on my end, especially when I'm using Visual Studio Code, hot restart takes forever. I don't know why. Maybe you can stop and then run again. Okay. I hope this works. Oh, just once. Haya. So let's see your ikikata, unaona pale juu kuna like a square button ya red there at the top where there is pause. I'll talk about this, by the way. Hii ndio tuja discuss, but I'll talk about it. Hapo juu kuna yenye inakaa kama pause ya play. Yes, hapo. So click hapo to stop. And then we can you can just run afresh. Sometimes it takes a bit of some time before it
yeah. Okay, can I stop sharing so that we continue? I give you the feedback.
Okay, we actually don't stop because everyone we stopped there. Everyone stopped
Okay.
there. Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay. You can still continue sharing because we stopped there and then we were. So one thing I was to share with you guys is to how to solve this as well as to host on GitHub. I promise I'll do it as we share the second and the third screen, the design of the second and the third screen. But if you encounter any issues that let's say we are tackling in class,